Hello, and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. We received a taste of what's to come when Judge Torres decided that XRP itself is not a security a couple of weeks ago. As we traveled, we cheered our success in seeing XRP rise from the high 40 cents to a price that is currently, or was recently, greater than this on at least one exchange. However, I have seen it as high as 90 cents during a live coin count. Amazing, it was so much joy to watch everything come together so quickly. But trust me when I say that anything you experienced was merely a bite of what's to come. Since it can feel like nothing will ever change with cryptocurrency prices. When people sense their feelings, they feel down in the dumps and like nothing good is ever going to happen to them. It seems like we'll never reach a new peak, and then suddenly we do. And then it happens by itself. It launches with the ease of snapping your fingers. It's amazing because it makes you question what could set off such a reaction. So, I wasn't the only one who wondered if the news of us would lead to XRP being deemed a non-security, and lo and behold, that's exactly what occurred. It's reasonable to wonder what kind of quote would send XRP soaring to fresh record highs. We may safely assume the answer is no at this point. On the other hand, XRP is known to be completely free. Therefore, during times of increased market activity. When contrasted to 2021's performance, 2022's XRP price surge will leave onlookers speechless. In the final moments before he left, the price of XRP reached $2. For what reason, you ask? That's odd. In my opinion, there is no cause for optimism because, well, we need to discuss the impending influx of capital into the cryptocurrency market and its huge multiplicative influence on the entire cryptocurrency market. I'll pause the movie at the end to pull up an article from the Daily Huddle. Mark Yusko's summary and analysis. I like him, despite the fact that he doesn't care much for XRP. He's not trolling, though. Even while I don't share his enthusiasm for Bitcoin or Ethereum, I can still respect his opinion because I'm not a complete moron. So I'll tell you what he thinks about it. If you want to know what will really fire up the crypto market, look no further than the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF. The entire cryptocurrency industry will benefit from this influx of capital. To be honest, I think that. First of all, let it be known that I come from absolutely no financial background. I'm not here to give you money advice. And remember, you should never use anything I say as a reason to buy or sell something. Just a hobbyist here that occasionally posts films to YouTube on various crypto-related topics. I was hesitant to share this section of the Cointelegraph article at first. It's a report from Rakesh, their chart analyst. And to the following, regarding the S&P 500, he wrote. This is significant, though, because the crypto asset class tends to track the S&P 500 index. But that doesn't imply precision down to the second, the day of the week, the month, etc. As I go along, I think you'll realize what I mean. I bring this up because Bitcoin seems to have some catching up to do, but if stock prices continue to trend upwards as they have so far this year, not literally, of course, there will be volatility, then Bitcoin will eventually fall into place as it usually does. This explains why, at a high enough level of abstraction, a chart reveals a strong relationship between Bitcoin and equities. Absolutely. The text of the peace treaty is as follows. In July, the S&P 500 index rose by 3%, bringing it closer to its all-time high than ever before. Risk-taking behavior has improved as a result of indicators of easing inflationary pressures and hopes that the Federal Reserve would soon finish its tightening cycle. Despite the optimistic climate, Bitcoin's price was relatively flat throughout the month of July and is currently on track to conclude the month down more than 3%. Even though I'm not an analyst and don't want to be, and have no interest in becoming one, I think it's important to note that traders are concerned about when and in what direction Bitcoin's range may break. However, it's important to note that consolidation does exist. When a trend finally reverses after trading sideways for a while, it tends to do so with considerably more force. As history shows, the more the force required to break out of a range, the longer one spends inside the range. When the price finally breaks out of the range, the subsequent trending move is likely to be robust. The only catch is that it might be tricky to anticipate which way the breakout will go. Okay, that makes sense. You are aware that a break to the negative is possible, but consider the current market conditions. If you look at the stock market and tell me that for the rest of this year or the next 12 months, you will watch the stock market rip to the upside while bitcoins do nothing, I will pretend I am not paying attention. I'm aware that this is not how Bitcoin acts, because we have 14 years of data to back it up. No way, no how. Now this is interesting, because chart handles Michael Van de Poppe does not like XRP after the SEC sued Ripple. He was one of the people saying things like I can't remember all the specifics, but I think he said that XRP was, I can't remember, he never got it, and it was never going to break even. That being said, everything is fine. He need not be an XRP fan. And then, of course, he was completely incorrect about everything. Since then, he's become a lot more sensible. I can see how that could have been somewhat humiliating for you. Maybe he's completely wrong on that fatal point. I have nothing bad to say about him, though. He is cautiously optimistic that XRP may yet see positive developments. What I'm trying to say is that I'm going to assume he genuinely means it if he says something positive, even about something as hypothetical as XRP. The text of the peace treaty is as follows. In a recent tweet, famous crypto researcher Michael Van de Poppe brought attention to the fascinating story of XRP's recent stratospheric ascent by leveraging the incident to foreshadow something much bigger on the horizon. Poppe pointed out that XRP led a stunning bull breakout, recovering 15 months' worth of losses in a single day. In his words, what XRP did is showing to you what a bull breakout does in quote, yes, exactly. Crypto analysts offer XRP as an example of the typical trajectory cryptocurrencies will take during a full-blown bull run. The only thing missing so far has been a similarly massive Bitcoin price increase. On July 13, when XRP began its run, Bitcoin's price increased slightly as a result. It's fascinating that XRP was the market leader. This isn't something that typically happens, and I appreciate that this fact has been brought to light. He argues that we lost everything after 15 months, which is 20 of our time frame. Yes, you're right. However, you may get it even more precise. The genuine price action typically occurs after a few hours. Nonetheless, whatever caused the price to rise from 40-something cents to 90 cents didn't take a complete 24 hours. That's all I want to say about it. In the world of cryptocurrencies, price changes occur rapidly. Moreover, I have no doubt that we will go through a similar situation again in the future. My money is on this. Also, I'll be brief about the $1 million in explosive inflows to XRP and Cardano in the midst of the enormous Bitcoin exodus. I bring this up because the If We CoinShares publish weekly reports on this topic, and they seem to be discussing it at an institutional level. In contrast to XRP's influx of over $19 million over that time period, Bitcoin saw significant withdrawals of over $19 million. So once again, we have Bitcoin withdrawals totaling over $90 million and XRP inflows totaling over $500,000, neither of which are implausibly high numbers. I don't recall the precise number, but it was millions of dollars going into XRP lately. And it was the week that we received the verdict in the SEC versus Ripple case. I may be wrong, but I think that this is correct. Contrast this with the institutional investment of millions into XRP during the same time period, and I believe Bitcoin experienced outflows of perhaps $12 or $13 million. This means that the world actually contains some forward thinkers. And now today we have this from you as well. I don't want to read the article, but XRP's price action reveals a hitherto unexplored phenomenon. In this case, however, they are highlighting the fact that XRP volatility has decreased significantly, and then asking whether or not this portends ill for the cryptocurrency. However, they fail to mention that Bitcoin is experiencing the same thing, and that XRP appears to be mimicking Bitcoin in this regard, with a recent headline from Cointelegraph reading, "Bitcoin volume hits lowest since early 2021. I don't feel like reading this article because I'm afraid $25,000. I simply wanted to make it clear that this behavior is not unique to XRP, despite what some alarmist Reddit postings might have you believe. Instead, it is shared by the whole crypto asset class, which is being driven by Bitcoin. And then there's this, which, despite my lack of enthusiasm about Bitcoin, is honestly the most interesting thing about this film. Wait a minute. Bitcoin is cool in my book. I plan to keep holding on to it. Simply put, I don't think in terms of technology. No longer do I find it interesting. And I think XRP has a lot more potential than that. However, I find this to be the most riveting segment of the whole video. Because Bitcoin still leaves the market, whether I like it or not and whether you like it or not. And when discussing the approval of a spot Bitcoin ETF, which I believe to be inevitable, and to BlackRock, as I have predicted for a very long time. I've been emphasizing this point for well over a year. The point is, it exists. BlackRock did file in the amount of money that would come in, since you know it, because if there are buyers of this fund, this ETF it requires BlackRock to actually purchase Bitcoin. Well, not exactly approved, but we're in the process like it's occurring right now. It must be supported by an equal amount in order to be considered backed. And you're talking about folks on either the Nasdaq or the New York Stock Exchange, so even if they're not into crypto, they can very easily use the accounts they've already set up to gain access or exposure to the crypto asset class. Knowing that many people are going to adopt a crypto as a result, BlackRock makes a direct purchase of Bitcoin. I mean, what do you expect that to accomplish? More people, especially retail investors, will start buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a direct result. And then, of course, the euphoria sets in, and the money and the other big coins all go around. The impact will be monumental. The latest news from our daily meeting is as follows. According to Mark Yesko, Bitcoin might be propelled into its second bull run by a $30 trillion tsunami of capital. Here is his perspective. This is really cool stuff, you should check it out. Mark Yesko, the head of Morgan Creek Capital Management, has predicted that the next bull run will be sparked by the approval of a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. Mark Davis, a prominent figure in the cryptocurrency industry, will soon be quoted in a new interview as saying that the market entered crypto spring on June 15, 2018, exactly 1 year after the end of crypto winter, according to Davis. According to Yesko, a Bitcoin ETF would be fantastic for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. Yesko notes that the largest asset manager in the world, BlackRock, has an almost perfect track record of having ETFs approved, and that this trend is expected to continue with BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF application. And I'm going to cite someone right now, but I do want to point out that he made a mistake. I will interpret it in the way he put it. Therefore, it will be wrong. But let me correct the misinformation right now. BlackRock has applied for 576 ETFs over the course of its existence. The request for 575 has been granted. They only had one player go down, and from what I gather, that player went down due to a technicality. That's a remarkable record of success. When he says 475, you know it's really 575. Because that's what he said and that's what's on the screen, I'm just going to read it as is. But I thought I'd mention that. In any case, here is Mark Yesko's citation. Naturally, this is a positive development, and it will be sanctioned. BlackRock has applied for 476 ETFs, making them 475 for the year. Since 475 before it were granted, I have no doubt that this one will as well. What Bitwise's or Ammon's does now. Do they get priority because they arrived first? It stinks, but I have to say no. However, I predict that BlackRock will jump to the front of the queue for some inexplicable reason. It's the way things are. It's true that having tens of trillions of dollars in assets confers certain advantages. Therefore, BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world. I've always suspected that BlackRock, with its $10 trillion AUM, would be the first corporation to be granted approval. What do you think? Do you think so? Actually, I doubt it. The SEC rejected Grayscale Investments' application for a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, ETF, last summer, and the company has now filed a lawsuit against the agency. As a result, Grayscale is suing the SEC and a wide variety of other businesses. So, it just seems dodgy all around. I just don't see how it could be anything else what it appears to be. Based on what I've heard through the grapevine and reported on this channel, I'd be surprised if it weren't corrupt in some way, whether or not it's against the law. It looks like government agencies are playing favorites. And who knows, maybe we're incorrect, or maybe my speculation is off, and BlackRock doesn't get the first Bitcoin ETF, but I'd be surprised. They probably won't even bother applying. If the SEC didn't give them the weed push nudge, they wouldn't have one. As an added bonus, you'll be able to let them know what they're supposed to do now that they've tried something new. In contrast to any other application I've discussed on the channel, this one was a breeze to fill out. But I don't want to become too technical either. Something keeps going. The Bitcoin trough. According to him, the BlackRock ETF has the potential to open up a $30 trillion market of institutional investors who have been wary of Bitcoin so far due to regulatory uncertainties. Given Bitcoin's limited free float, or Bitcoin that are really available for trading, Jusko claims that even 0.1% of such assets would have a significant impact on the cryptocurrency. Right? To understand what he means by free float, all you really need to do is keep in mind that the vast majority of Bitcoin in existence, even if it has already been mined, is not currently for sale on any exchange and thus is unavailable to buyers. Whether it's kept cold, you're not allowed to have it. Therefore, just a minuscule fraction of all Bitcoin ever mined. That's on the market now. The figure is negligible. Keep this in mind as I read the following quotation on the resurgence of Bitcoin's popularity. As an XRP holder, this is the part that really matters to me. According to what I've heard, XRP is the only large-cap cryptocurrency with any sort of regulatory clarification at this time. Here in the good old USA, only this one exists. Once Bitcoin's value drops, investors cash out, and the money is redistributed to large-cap stocks. I predict a staggering amount of capital to cycle into XRP. That's my guess. If I'm incorrect and it drops to zero, then so be it. Sure, you can do that. Therefore, it might be a terrible plan. I'm going to be honest here. I seriously doubt that will occur. But I attempted to approach this with a dose of realism. Mark Gusko said, let's get 0.1% of $30 trillion. $30 billion, $30 billion on $600 billion, so here it is. Not a significant enough impact, unfortunately. It's not $600 billion though. If you take $30 billion and apply it to $150 billion in free float, you'll see a difference. Plus, let's say we get 1% instead of 1%. That's why 1% is equal to 10%, or 10 basis points. As a result, we no longer use the notation 0.1% when referring to a percentage. He quotes a figure of $300 billion on a $150 billion sum and believes it's correct. To put it simply, that's a huge sum. This is a very large and reasonable request. Even if it's only 1% of the total amount of money coming in, that's still a lot. And you're referring to a sum of $100 plus $50B? By God? You guys get the gist of my profession, so I don't have to elaborate. When it comes to the impact on Bitcoin's value, you know you received the inside scoop from Mark Gusko's work, right? The ramifications for the remainder of cryptography would become clearer after that. Then, he requests more discussion on the condition that Bitcoin reaches its previous peak. Gusko claims there won't be many buyers standing in line. Once Bitcoin reaches the $50,000 to $60,000 region, he believes there will be much less free float and much less sell pressure. He said, quoting a statistic, that as the price of something rises, people become more certain that they want to hodl forever. And they don't freak out. So, I anticipate less free float rather than more if the price returns to $60,000 or $50,000. Not many people, if any, in the world, in my opinion, will be selling anything right now. High-frequency traders, who I believe are responsible for the consistent buying and selling seen in the market on a daily basis, begin quoting. Indeed, it might be the case. As a general rule, more money flows into and up a market as it enters a new euphoric phase, such as when it breaks through to a new all-time high. And we've all seen it before, right? I suppose it's possible, but I'm more interested in the implications. Okay, sure. I expect some return on my Bitcoin investment, but I'm holding out hope that the real game-changing money will be found in altcoins. What transpires, transpires. You shouldn't use my advice to buy or sell anything because I'm not a financial expert. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you later, bye.